Hey there, it's Brittany, and I'm back today to show you how to make a mold of some item in your home that you'd like to use in a craft or jewelry or whatever you want to use it for. One of the easiest methods to make a mold is by using EasyMold Silicone Putty. This is one of my favorites. There are a couple others that are out there that are probably just as good, but I just like the purple one a little bit more. I got this from Joann's. I used a 50% off coupon. I'm going to show you what is included. It's a 2-part putty that you mix. And so you get 2 little tubs that are a 1/4 pound each. Okay, one purple, one white. And then you mix them in equal parts to make your mold. You also need to have a couple things that you want to make your mold with. And I know several of you who watch my videos and I say, oh, I want to make a mold of this. Oh, I want to make a mold of this. I say it all the time. And you said, well, can you show us how you do it? And yeah, that's what I'm doing today. So this was in the most recent curated bead box. And I thought, oh, hey, I want to make a mold of that before I use it in my piece. This is from one of my recent hauls from Lori Matson, as well as this. And this I've had, my goodness, probably a year at least. I have a ton of cabochons that look like this. This one's actually a pendant because it has a hole here and a hole here, but it's really large. And I wish Brittany from 10, 12 years ago had this and had the knowledge of making molds and using polymer clay, because I would have raked in the money. But, yeah, we're gonna make a mold out of these 4 items today. You can just eyeball it, which is what I've done in the past, but today I'm also bringing in my food scale. This is just one that I've had for a very long time, and it works wonderfully. It's the best one I've ever had. I bought one specifically for my bead room, and it's awful. It never has the same weight twice for the same thing. So this one has been going and going and going and going. I don't even know if they make them anymore. I mean, it's got to be 7 or 8, maybe 10 years old. So actually, it's probably older than that. It's probably almost 14 years old, actually, I think. Because I used to use it for packaging, when I sent out packages when I sold on Etsy. But anyway, you're going to need these items. You probably don't need this, but I'm just going to make sure that this goes as far as it can. We're going to weigh it in equal parts. And then I am going to get like a glass surface, or I have a bunch of tiles that I'm going to get to put down here to push my molds into. Okay, having a tile is not necessary, but it will be helpful. I'm also going to, this little lady. This little lady has a loop on it, and I could keep that on there, but I have another one of these, so I'm going to cut the loop off just so it's not in my mold. So there we go. And I'm going to turn on my scale. I have it set to grams, but it also can be set to ounces just by pushing the unit button over here. And this, like I said, it's old. There we go. I'm going to push it back. There we go. Okay, and then I am just going to measure this out. I'm going to put it in a little cup. And I'm going to just go for the turtle. It's going to be my biggest one. I'll do the turtle first. So I'm just going to make sure it feels a little greasy, but that's okay. So we're at 11 grams. I don't really know how much I'm going to need for the turtle. I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to need a little bit more than that. All right, so we're at 17 grams. I'm just going to take that out of there, set it aside, and then put 17 grams worth of the white in there. There we go. And then I am just going to move this out of the way. And we're just going to go ahead and combine Well, I do this by rubbing them together. So we want it to be completely incorporated into the putty. The white completely incorporated into the purple. So you have 3 minutes of working time, so this is very fast. So I wouldn't try and get putty mixed up for several pieces to mold at the same time. I would do each piece separately just because you only get 3 minutes of working time, and then you have a 25-minute cure. All right, so you can heat these, so you can bake your polymer clay in them up to 400 degrees. So polymer clay you only bake at 275 degrees, so you can definitely use these, and you don't need a release agent like some other molds would. I can make other videos based on your feedback. If you'd like to see how I make a mold with like a polymer clay or a stamp with just polymer clay, let me know. I'd be happy to let you know how to do that. So I'm just going to roll this into a ball, and here's our, actually I'm just going to kind of roll it into, or smooth it into an oval, and I'm going to push it down on my tile. Gonna get my turtle, and I'm just gonna smush him in there, making sure that he gets all the way in. Trying not to move him too much because the detail will be blurred if we do it too much. All right, and then we just let that sit for 25 minutes. And then I'm just going to continue doing that for each of my pieces. So now I'm going to go with my little lady. She's only going to need a little bit. All right, so I'm going to mix these two together again. Okay, I'm just going to roll that into a ball, put it here, and try and get some of the fingerprints out because I'm a little worried that it might impact my mold. I'm going to take my finger and push her down in, making sure we're getting a good bond with the putty. There we go. Okay, so I actually put these aside and started filming another video because I was getting impatient. But it's been a very long time. It's probably been over an hour since I set these. And if you could see in the fast forward, I made a mistake. I waited too long to start molding this one, and then it didn't work right. So I tried to mold this one, and then it was almost at the 3 minutes time, and I wasted basically this stuff. So I pushed this little nest in there just to try and salvage it. So let's see how it came out. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it worked well enough to where I can use that for something in the future. But I wasted all of this because I just took too long. So that's why you don't want to wait that full 3 minutes to get your mold set up. You want to work as quickly as you can. But at least got another mold done. All right, let's see how our turtle turned out. And these come out so easily. So he's okay. Actually, most of it's pretty good. But like I said over here, you want to be careful when you're moving because now it's a little like his side isn't as defined. There's just a little bit extra, but that's okay. I can cut that and carve what I need to. But do you see all the detail in the shell and his little fins? So cute. All right, so we have our little lady. Now, she is there's some interesting things happening here around her face. We're going to get a lot of detail in her face, but this side part, she had some issues right around there. Now, this is the one I struggled with, and we might see some issues around the middle because it was just such a deep cabochon that I don't know, I'm nervous. We'll see how that turned out. Looks cool. Very cool. And I want to use this for a necklace. That's why I wanted to get this done. And then we have our little, it's not a trumpet, but I keep calling it a trumpet in my head. All right, so our molds are made, and now I'm going to show you how to use them. You didn't think I was just going to show you how to make them. I have 3 molds I've made. I have the turtle. This one I actually just made from a check glass bead, and this one I made from a sea urchin. So here's one of kind of what that looks like. And I've rolled out some polymer clay. This is Sculpey Primo, and it's kind of like a scrap piece. It's not the cleanest white. But I've rolled it out on my pasta machine. You do not need a pasta machine. You could just grab a hunk of clay and condition it with your fingers. And I have a couple other tools. I have a brayer or an acrylic roller and like a sponge to texture. You don't need these things. These are optional. Just saying what I use. Okay. There are a couple ways you can do this. You can get a thin piece like this, push it into your mold, and then push more pieces in to fill it. It just really depends on what you want to do. So I'm going to show you just kind of what a chunk pushed into a mold looks like. So I'm just conditioning it with my fingers. And I actually don't even need that much for this little check glass bead mold. And there's something in there, but that's okay. This is scrap clay. I am just going to push in with my finger, making sure that all parts of that mold are covered. So here it's going to have my texture from my fingerprint on the back. You have a couple options. You could go with that, that's fine. Or you can take your roller and push your sponge into it, and look, it creates a texture on the back. And that's really good for if you're wearing the beads right up against your skin. It allows your skin to breathe a little bit. So if we were going to put a ceramic tile right against our skin, after a while, your skin's gonna start sweating. The oils are gonna create like almost like a suction to the bead. But if you have some texture there, it's not gonna be as noticeable. So I'm gonna pull this out. And this, I didn't keep it within just the circle. I don't care. You can absolutely sand that off. You could attach this to a bigger piece of clay to make a pendant. You could use a circle cutter to cut that out. You can smooth it out with your fingers, whatever you want to do. And you can poke a hole through here to make a bead going that way or going front to back, whatever works for you. But look, it picked up all that texture from that mold. Next, I'm going to show you the sea urchin. So there's a different way you could do this one. You could do it both ways, but let's say I take a piece that's kind of like this, roughly the same size. Look, we have a Goldie hair in the clay because she is everywhere. And we're going to just push that in and fold this in. So I don't normally do this method, but it is a valid method. Now, you're not going to want to keep it just like that. You're going to want to add clay to the back. And just keep adding clay until it's the thickness that you want. So here, now we're seeing a whole bunch of different pieces in this mold. We want to make sure they all amalgamate or become one. And we're just gonna keep pushing. Now you could push with your fingers, you could push with your brayer, you could push with your roller, you could push with your sponge, or any combination of all of those. But you're gonna wanna make sure that you are making these lines disappear. And it's gonna take some time, but that's why we have tools. So now that's probably the shortcut way, and it's not gonna turn out the best way. You get more control when you're using your fingers versus the brayer. But the bigger the mold, the more time it's gonna take. And then here, I'm just slowly pushing the edges back into that mold, because you can kind of see where the divots start. And that way you're not going to have to sand around the sides. If you want to sand, you don't have to. There's a lot of different methods of using polymer clay, and not everybody uses it the same way. So it'll take some time to find your groove. I still search for mine daily. Change things up once in a while, and then if I want, I could texture the back, and I can almost guarantee that there's going to be some overage, and I can always fix that. So if you're in a really warm climate like I am, like my bead room is 77 degrees right now, that's probably not the best conditions for making sure that your clay stays in the shape you want it to stay in. So you can pop these into the freezer. Pop them in the freezer for 15 minutes, pop them back out so your piece isn't distorted, or is less likely of being distorted. So I'm just going to pop mine out here because it's still fine. It's still great and beautiful, but it'll tolerate more of you touching it if you need to do some things, if you pop it in the freezer and then let it thaw and then put it in the oven. So there we go. Isn't that cool? That used to be alive. I just got these from Michael's. I didn't pick them up myself from the beach, but now we could turn it into a pendant. I'm not going to show you how to make it into a pendant in this video. I'm just showing you how the molds work. And then last but not least, we have our turtle, and I'm going to come back and show you this one baked and the turtle baked as well. So we have a couple options with the turtle, and you can kind of see he's a little different than just these easier shapes. So this is a circle. This is a circle, but he has some extremities, right? So there are a few different ways that you can do this. So grab a piece, and all of them are probably going to end up with you having to alter the finished product by either cutting or sanding. So I put a little piece where his head's going to go. I'm going to put some pieces where his arms go. Just press those in. And it's okay, something's showing there, that's fine. I'm just kind of getting the detail pieces where they need to go. Put a teeny tiny bit for his tail. He's not going to be perfect, but that's okay. Nothing in nature is that perfect. Okay, so I'm going to condition some. Oh, I don't know how some beads got on that quickly. I'm just going to roll some clay. And I'm going to start pushing that into the rest of the mold, kind of picking up those other pieces with it. And one of the things I say constantly is take your time. If you don't have time, that's okay. Walk away until you do have time, or take the time you have, but make sure you're not rushing. There are projects that you can spend 2 seconds on and get a great result, but I'm only done like 50% of the work for this guy to be cute. If I just decided to unmold right here, we'd have a turtle that just looks ridiculous and or will fall apart. So he needs a little bit more clay in his fin. And the thing is here, I'm going to have overage on the edges, and we can cut that apart or cut that off and adjust it before and after we take it out of the mold. So I'm just going to keep doing this. I'm going to take it's a little easier on my fingers when I use this guy. But you don't have to. That's the thing. You don't have to. With polymer clay, I mean, you can have a minimal investment with big returns because you can use anything to texture it. So have a sponge, use that. Have a Brillo pad, use that. Have a piece of cotton or linen or something, use that. I think that would be really pretty as a texture. Make yourself some linen beads. All right, so I'm going to keep going. See, yes, it's connected here, but there's still a segmentation there, a line. So I'm just going to keep working on that until it looks a little bit more cohesive. See, just those 10 pushes made it a little bit easier to see. All right, so I'm going to keep going. All right, so before I take him out, I'm just going to do what I did with the sea urchin, kind of bringing that back in, and I'll do one last texture, folding it in towards himself so he's not really hanging out over, but it's okay if there's some touch up to be done. Do one last texture here. I got this from the Heart Supplies, by the way. And I think it might be FTH Supplies on the internet. Okay. All right. It looks funky, but we're going to just be careful. And I didn't freeze him or anything, but you can. And look how great he looks. Look how wonderful he looks. Isn't that just as good as our original turtle? I've already made that original turtle into a necklace. This is several days later, by the way. I'm gonna go get a couple blades and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a tissue blade and I have an X-Acto knife. He's a little dirty. It's got a lot of clay on him. But I think the X-Acto knife would be the easiest thing here to clean up the polymer clay. I'm just gonna go around and kind of get those extra pieces that just don't really look like the turtle. And then you can sand up anything too rough afterwards with a buffing wheel, with a piece of sandpaper, your Dremel, whatever works. And this again would be probably a little bit easier if it was a little bit colder, because here I'm probably getting some fingerprints on my little turtle, but that's okay. He'll have my personality. All right, so just keep cleaning him up. I am going to, through the magic of YouTube, show you what some pieces that I've already cured. So I would make sure, oh, I just tore him, but I would make sure to clean this up a little bit more, bake him, and then sand. I think this, again, would be a great bracelet bar, and all you'd have to do is cure it in over something that is rounded so it would fit the wrist. I have a little bowl of things that I've molded over the last few days. Look at this cute little frog. And I did something completely different here. I pushed all of the clay into the mold, but I also pushed it over so it's round around it, so it made like a little medallion. And I textured the back. Did the same thing with this cactus. These are some wonderful shells that my friend Cindy had, that she allowed me to mold at her house. She's amazing. She had this just amazing shell collection. And see, there's some overage here. I'm just gonna sand that off, and then I'll end up painting these. Although these are pretty cool, just white. Here's another from a shell from Cindy, another one that I cut into like an eye shape. This is a vintage filigree. This is some scrap clay that I would have not used for anything, but I made a Buddha mold, and I'll just paint it with some gold and it'll look amazing. Hamsa. Another pendant. Here is the finished sea urchin, but you have to sand and paint. Got a little armadillo. Isn't he cute? Oh my gosh. Another shell, a little Zuni bear, a sunflower. This was a button. This was also a button, a little mermaid. And then here is our finished turtle. And then, like I said, I'm going to go in here and clean this up once I decide what I'm going to do with it. And I am going to sand it and do all that stuff and paint it. This one, as you can see, is heads down. I did put him over like a slump when I cured it. So it's going to conform to my wrist a little bit better. See, like this is what it looks like flat, and then this is what it looks like slumped. So super easy to do, fun. And if you'd like to see a video on ideas and things that you can use to texture your clay, leave me a comment below. I might have something in the works, but I'd love to hear it from you if that's something you want to see. Thank you so much for watching. I know a lot of you asked for this video, and I'm so happy that you're interested in it. Let me know what other things you'd like to see. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay tuned for Goldie. Bye-bye. Hi, cutie. What you doing, baby? Oh, you want some attention? You want some attention? We can arrange that and get a tummy scratch. What a baby. You're such a cute baby. Yes. Oh, that's mommy. Oh, you want more, huh? Look at those teeth. Oh, you're so happy. Oh, you are such a sweetheart. Oh my goodness. Oh, did you just wink at the camera? Yeah, you are so cute. Boop, boop.